Hello friends, Christian here with BrickLifeCrisis again. Today we're taking a look at LEGO Star Wars set number 75220, the Sandcrawler. This set consists of 1,239 pieces, includes 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 minifigures depending on how you count them, includes 2 Jawas, Luke Skywalker, a medical droid, RA7, and R5A2. Let's go ahead and crack this guy open, build it up, and see what we think. Here's a quick look at the back of the box, which shows it opened up a little bit, and you can see some of the play features and some of the details in this thing. But rather than looking at the back of the box, let's build it up. And here it is, set number 75220, the Sandcrawler. The build is pretty good. As you can see, the size of this thing is fairly large in comparison to minifigures, but far from minifigure scale. The previous versions of this set, 75059 for example, which is an older product but is substantially larger, and the previous version was also quite a bit larger than this one. But this is pretty good. It's not a UCS set, so it is designed to be mass merchandise set. This one was purchased at Walmart on clearance, and this set has a pretty good collection of minifigures as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at each of those, and then we'll take a look at some details of the Sandcrawler. First up is Luke Skywalker, and this is a fairly well-produced figure. He's got a nice print on his torso as well as his waist and legs, and that print continues around the back with belt and some shirt detail. He's carrying a pair of macro binoculars, which is a nice accessory and perfectly appropriate for this stage of the movie. He has a pretty good face print with some blonde hair, and if we spin that around you can see he has an alternate face as well. This is the first of our 2 Jawas. The heads on these guys are the same, and they are basically just black heads with the yellow circles for eyes, and they have the hood piece to cover that up, which is nice. This one includes kind of the old style blaster, which is just a black megaphone piece with a blue stud coming out the end. The torso print is nice, and it is slightly different than the other one. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. If we spin it around, you can see the back print, which is also very nicely done. And here we have Jawa number 2 with a slightly different weapon. The torso print on the front and back, again, is just a little bit different, but it's cool to have 2 different variants of the Jawa. Next up is a medical droid. This is very similar to 21B that we got in the Hoff Medical Center set, just with some different coloring. And this is fairly well done. I really like that torso head mold. It is all one piece, so the head does not turn or anything. However, there is some articulation at the arms, and the legs move together as a single unit like a lot of the other droids, but still somewhat posable and a pretty good representation of a medical droid. And here we have a protocol droid. This one is a little bit different than a typical one that we see that is basically just a different coloration of a C-3PO. This one is what Kenner used to call the Death Star droid, although I don't think he was ever seen on the Death Star. He was seen inside of the Sandcrawler, so it's perfectly appropriate that this guy is included in this set. Some pretty good printing on the torso, on the back and the front. That print continues down onto the waist and legs, and this is, I think, a new mold for the head, and it's done very well, and I'm very happy to have this particular droid as part of the collection. And finally we have this new astromech. This is not obviously R2-D2, nor is it R5-D4. This is a different R2 unit altogether in kind of a yellowish orange color scheme. There's no print on the back, of course, of the body, but there is some on the back of the head. I like that they have made it look a little bit dirty and dusty, as if he's been in the desert for a little while, so that's kind of a cool little detail. This is a very well done droid, and I think it's exclusive to the set, and I'm happy to have him as part of my collection. Some might complain about the absence of R2-D2, C-3PO, and perhaps Uncle Owen from this collection. However, C-3PO and R2-D2 are readily available in numerous sets, and I think if you are getting into LEGO Star Wars now, chances are you can easily acquire them if you haven't already. And for those of us that have been collecting for quite some time, you have plenty of R2-D2s and C-3POs in your collection as it is, so I'm glad that they've included some different droids instead. Uncle Owen might have been nice, but certainly not essential. The key is Luke, the Jawas, and a mess of droids. I could have even done without the Luke and some additional droids or Jawas, but I'm perfectly happy with this particular ensemble. Moving on to the actual Sandcrawler, this thing is, as I say, rather large, and so it's a little bit tough to get it all on frame. It's a pretty nice build. It's not entirely accurate as far as scale goes, but it's perfectly acceptable for a toy, which is really what it's intended to be. This is not a UCS set or a collector set, really, but it is fairly well done. There are a few different play features in here. We'll open it up and take a look at those. But before we do that, I just want to give you kind of an overview of the exterior of this thing. They've added some nice detail up front with these trans yellow tiles to look like the windows that are lit from inside, and that is kind of an iconic look for this thing. On the other side, we have an opening, and it's closed on the other side. These panels can come off. These panels back here open up, and up here in the cockpit kind of area opens up as well. We'll take a closer look at all of that in just a moment. I have I guess a fairly significant complaint about this. I think it looks good. However, this is a model designed primarily for kids, and it is not easy to play with because it's not easy to move around. If you grab it the way you think you should, right here, the whole thing just comes apart. That's because they have these panels and a roof piece that are designed to come out so you can play with the inside, which is great. But the only way to really grab this thing that I've found is to actually put your fingers inside here, and then by doing that you can reach into the structure there that's made up of some Technic pieces, and that's a bit more solid. But if you just grab it by the sides like you think you should, or even back here, it's just kind of flimsy. Up here, the weight distribution is not quite right, and pieces end up falling off. It's just not great for play value as far as being able to move it around unless you grab it like this. Even grabbing it from underneath, I guess you could do it that way. But it's just a little bit difficult to move around. On the back of the model, we have some nice greebling here, and then down here towards the treads, you have this knob here. If you turn that, then it actually turns the treads so that you can steer it, which is kind of a cool play feature, I guess. It's not perfect, but it works fairly well. At the front of the vehicle, there is this ramp that folds down, and when you do that, you can reach in to release this little vehicle. So this is a basic little build. We have a suggestion of some treads on either side, along with a grill piece and some headlights. There's this droid arm that can be used to control it. And then there's just room back here for some cargo. In this case, we've got a couple of canisters, but you could just as easily put some droids or a couple of Jawa figures or something on there. But it's just kind of an added little something to give you a little more play value. Reminds me a little bit of the thing that came with that Jawa battle pack from a year or so ago. Not as elaborate, obviously, but it's the same basic idea. And it's kind of cool to have a little something extra. In order to gain access to the inside of the model, there's a few things you can do. On the back, we have these panels that fold up, and they fold up on both sides. You can take off the center roof piece, and then you can take off these side panels on either side. And then you have quite a bit of space inside there to pose minifigures and droids and that sort of thing. If we come around to the other side, there are actually some play functions. Let's take a look at those. So first of all, we have this crane piece here that can unfold, and there's a little nozzle piece that you can use to grab cargo or a astromech droid or whatever, and then bring it in onto this platform. That platform has a stairway that goes into it, and then it leads over into that little vehicle that we looked at a moment ago. Over here we have some computer terminals and some nice displays. There's a printed gauge piece, as well as this lever and some kind of a fuel rod or something like that. Just gives you a little bit of detail, something to play with, to give a little bit of extra something to the overall build. Up at the front, we raise this piece here, and you can see on the inside we have sort of a cockpit. There's room for a couple of figures in there. We've got some printed display consoles and gauges and that sort of thing, and of course the obligatory coffee mug, which is kind of a cute detail. So overall, I really do like this set. Here we have that crane, and he's just got the droid, and again, you can lift him up and move him into the vehicle, what have you. And we've got the little vehicle down here. It's just a cool set, a nice little collection of minifigures. Again, I'm perfectly fine with the fact that it doesn't come with C-3PO and R2-D2. I prefer having these other droids since C-3PO and R2-D2 are so readily available in other places. Overall, I think this is a really nicely done set. The design is cool. I've always been a fan of the Sandcrawler. My big complaint really is just its fragility when it comes to moving it around. So this set retails for about $140 here in the US, and it is still $140 on the LEGO website. Even on May the 4th weekend, it was not on sale. However, I picked this up on clearance at Walmart for $99, which I thought was the price it probably should have been to begin with. Maybe $120, but $140 was a bit steep for me. But I thought I got a pretty good job, or a pretty good deal at $99.99. When I went back a week later, all the sets were gone, but the tag had changed to $69.99. So apparently someone got the last one for $70, which obviously is an even better deal, but I'm still plenty pleased with getting this at $99.99. Thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure having you here. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those below. We'd love it if you haven't already subscribed. If you'd hit that subscribe button, leave us a like if you enjoyed the video, and please take a look at some of our other videos and let us know what you think of those. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you. Bye for now. So in universe, this thing is a giant lumbering tank, basically, that is a transport for Jawas and the scavenged droids and parts and things that they find. And it basically just rolls across the desert. Most people don't realize that it also has the ability to fly, and that's what these are for. These are the wings. Yeah, kind of reminds me of the RV from Spaceballs. Good stuff.